Okay, so this we are going to review Career Locker as a great opportunity for advisors and students to really do some really good in-depth exploration. I use this particular resource every semester with my students. In our class, we have them utilize this for occupational research and also for doing some assessment as well. So I'll kind of walk you through the tabs of Career Locker. There's the assessment tab, occupations, education, job seeking, budgeting, and planning. The pieces of this particular resource that I use the most are assessment, occupations, and then education. I'm going to show you first assessment, and I'm going to actually have, if you're in part of the workshop, we're actually going to do the personal globe inventory together and kind of talk through that. So that is definitely one resource that I have our students participate in. The other resource that I really like is also called the Interest Profiler. Both the Interest Profiler and the personal globe inventory yield similar results. My personal opinion is that I like the Interest Profiler better. However, more focus has been put on the personal globe inventory over the last couple of years. So completely up to you. Find out which one you like and utilize that to the best of your ability. So let's take a look at the personal globe inventory. So I've already taken the assessment, but essentially what it does is it has you go through various questions responding to things that you have interest in, and then also things that you believe that you are good at performing. So once you finish the questions, it gives you the results, and it tells you again your Holland sort of strengths, or the areas that you are strong or high have high areas in the Holland code areas. So as you can see, I have some high areas in realistic, enterprising, and also investigative. So for me, if I show you my interest profiler, the results are a little bit different. I believe that's because the questions are a little bit different. So that's where it comes into play, where I feel like my personal interests more align with the Interest Profiler than the personal globe inventory. So something that you could certainly take a peek at. Anyways, it gives us sort of some information about the different Holland areas, what those kind of mean. And then you have Explore Occupations, the opportunity to explore occupations, shows us where our high areas are, and then gives us occupations to consider. There's also 10 more, so you can pick those. If anything looks particularly of interest, you or the student can click on that occupation, and it will take you over to the occupation section, and it will take you through some descriptions, which I will explain a little bit more in detail later. Let's see. So you can take a look at that. You can choose those occupations to see how those are going to match the scores that you have. So it really does kind of give you an idea of if those things are interesting to you, do they match, or are they congruent with your scores. So you can also see the full report, and that will kind of give you some description of kind of the things that we just talked about. This does save once the student completes it. It does save up in their e-portfolio, so they can come back later, or you could come back later with them to review it by going to the e-portfolio and pulling up that profile, or just by going through the assessment. It knows that you have taken that assessment as well. Okay, so the other thing that I like to show you, and I'll kind of show you real quick, the Interest Profiler. Same thing. Has you kind of go through, do I like, dislike, I'm not sure about that. So it has the student kind of identify what their interests are. So we'll go back. Let's see. Oh, did it not keep my results? I wonder. Let me take a look up in my e-portfolio. So yeah, it did keep. I had taken the Interest Profiler obviously a while back, so it does also keep that, and it does see my interests are a little bit different than the personal globe inventory. So those are some things that I would have an opportunity to take a look at. But if I want to, I can go back, click on that assessment, see those results, it shows me matching clusters, and then it also shows me matching occupations. Again, if I see one that I think is interesting, I can click on it, it takes me over to the occupation, I can do some exploration there. Alright, a couple of other things I want to show you on the assessments page. You do have a career skills assessment, a work skills inventory. You also have a work values inventory as well. I like the work values inventory because it also gives you an opportunity to talk through with a student. Let's say they come in and say, I know I want to work outside, or I know that I don't want to work in a cubicle. Those are some indications that maybe the work values inventory might be helpful in narrowing down some occupations that could be of interest. So again, have them take that assessment. Again, it gives you some clusters to explore, and then also your full report again. Okay, so those are the assessments. You certainly can kind of look at some of the other things. There's a few other ones that you could get yourself familiar with, but those are the ones I typically use in the assessment section. All right, occupations. So occupations, I use this quite a bit with our students when we're talking about occupational research or getting students ready to do an informational interview. So if they want to find an opportunity to meet with someone to learn more about what they do, we have them come in and learn about those occupations before they go out and meet with those folks. So a few different ways that you can search this information. You can search occupations by your interest, skills, major that you want to participate in, any of these other quick lookups, or you can just browse occupations. This will give you an opportunity to find an A to Z list. So let's say I'm working with a nursing student, which I do quite a bit, and I can go over to the N section, and I can, let's say I want to work with a student, or I'm working with a student who wants to work in med-surg as a nurse. Gives us some information, links us back to the registered nurse list. And then what you can see under each of the descriptions of the occupations is it's going to tell the student about the job. So different titles, occupational titles, a general description. If it's a hot occupation, which means there's some good growth there. Hours, conditions, work locations, pros and cons. So very similar things that you're going to find on like the BLS and then the Occupational Outlook Handbook. The education path, so what type of education is needed, what kind of outlook, the type of salary. The information about salary is interesting because it gives you the Wisconsin-based, national-based, and then also does some comparisons. So if someone wants to live in Appleton, or they want to move to Chicago, it's going to show them a little bit of the difference in salary differences for those different work locations. Employers. Where are these folks finding opportunities? There's a job openings list to some job boards. If they want to learn more, so if they want to compare to ONET, they certainly can do that. If they have military background, they can link to the military occupations. I like that they oftentimes will recognize occupations or organizations that are related to the occupation and link to those. Many of those organizations will also have good career information, so I do recommend to students taking a look at that. Statistics based on the different states, and then also some other ways to get connected to the other resources that we have covered in different podcasts. They can also compare the occupation to their assessment, so any of the assessments that they may have taken, they can click through. So let's say we have taken the personal globe. It's going to then compare that occupation to that particular assessment that you picked. This one also has a video, so it's kind of like a day in the life of. You may find some, these occupations have videos. Some of them will have an actual written article about a day in the life of, so you will see a few of those as well. So you can obviously look at the different occupations. You can compare occupations if you want to. So if you want to compare an accountant to a race car driver, you could. So you can just see a side-by-side of those different things. So just a crazy little example there. Alright, education section I like as well because it helps us work with students that are thinking about grad school or other schooling. So it does let you search by different colleges or schools. In our case, we do work with a lot of students thinking about graduate school, so we'll go over to the grad school. They can search for the different universities that they're thinking about particularly going to, and then let's say they want to find out information. It tells them general information, majors, degree, what the student life is like, and it will also link them to the homepage. These other options I don't necessarily use very often because a lot of our students aren't under those or aren't thinking about those types of things. The job seeking, yes, but I think there are better particular resources out there than some of the job bases they have linked here. However, there are a few tools that if you're working with a student on building a resume or a cover letter, there are a few good things that you can use here. I do go back to the ePortfolio from time to time to look at some of the things I might have saved or that kind of thing. So you certainly can utilize some of the other pieces to the portfolio. The other thing I like about the occupations is, let's see, let me just pick one here. You can save things that you're interested in to your occupational information, and you can always go back to that. So you can always come back to those different pieces to kind of figure out if you want to look at them later. Alright, so that's Career Locker in a nutshell. If you are in or have participated with us in the workshop, we will spend a little bit of time working through this a little bit more in detail. But hopefully you got a little bit of information about how you can use this and how it would be helpful in your work with your students.